Here I come. Here I come.
Yeah, that's how I'm starting the pod today. Hello, welcome to Danny Mac's Awful Podcast. Happy Thursday if you are an early bird and you're listening to this one the day it comes out. And if it's not Thursday for you, I hope whatever day of the week it is finds you safe and well. Little page out of King James's book there. It's a solo pod, my third one. You got the Power Hour with Danny Mac, and by Power Hour I mean maybe I'll get to 40 minutes before I'm sick of hearing myself speak. I know you guys will hit that threshold far earlier, maybe around the 20-minute mark, so we'll have to see. Of course, I've got my drops today. I've got the old Tim Allen. It's a classic. We love the Tim Allen, folks. We love Tim, don't we? He's the tool man, always getting a bonk on the head and going to the emergency room. And his friend is Al. We all love Al with his beard. He's a man's man, isn't he?
Here I come.
And the word come, we love come, don't we, folks? We love to spell it with only 3 letters, even though it's supposed to be 4. I'm kind of just doing Seth Meyers' Trump impression there, and his wasn't good to begin with, so mine is true dog shit. I hope everyone's had a lovely week. Thanks, everyone, for loving the last few episodes, sending me, well, some of you did. You sent me some nice DMs, and I appreciated that. We had Chris Waz and Mactor Graham on last week, and Chris was a wealth of knowledge as always. 2 days after that episode, Chris and I went to the wrap party for season 4 of Animal Control. We got a little silly. We had a couple sips of wine, and at one point the star of that program, his name escapes me, Joe something, he opened the bar up to everyone to just dive right in, and I went through my drink tickets pretty damn quick, so that was a pleasant surprise. And I had that and some sushi. Yeah, it was a gay old time, my friends. But the next day wasn't too hungover, but did have some stuff to do around the house, you know. And then I had to memorize lines for a self-tape. You ever wake up hungover and you're like, man, I look like shit right now. This would be perfect to do a self-tape where I had to be someone who looks like a slob. Your face is all puffy and red. And my self-tape was the next day, so I wasn't able to take advantage of that. So I was back to my, looking like Jacob Elordi self when I did my self-tape the next day. I'm bringing up old Jacob because I saw Frankenstein, folks. Yes, that's right. Frankenstein on Netflix. Guillermo del Toro is the director. Our pal Oscar Isaac's in it. And Mia Goth, Scream Queen, Shia LaBeouf's betrothed, which I always forget about. That seems like an interesting couple to me. Just one of those I never saw coming. But it's a lot of Jacob Elordi in yellow bandages that pass for underwear. And when I saw him in those, I said, Jacob, oh Lordy, is what I said. I said, oh Lordy. All right, that's enough out of you, Tim. But yeah, it's good. You should check it out if you have a chance to see it in the theater. I bet it would look really fucking cool on the old big screen. And I'm not even one of those you have to not watch this movie on your phone. It must be seen in an IMAX. But, most movies are better on a bigger screen. I guess most everything is better on a bigger screen. That's why you should whip out the old giant 24-inch iMac that you haven't used since 2012. Fire up the YouTube and listen to this on there. If you don't subscribe to the pod on YouTube, I would love for you to do that, to like and subscribe to it, like some of the videos. I'm finally out of YouTube jail. Some of you may recall that I got into YouTube jail. We all the time play stuff on the pod that, that's not
Here I come.
right. I don't have the rights to any of this stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's like half a second. But sometimes it does matter if the copywritten property, if the music or sounds that you are playing happen to come from a certain action hero who may be a giant piece of shit to work with, who hurts stuntmen all the time, who may have released an album where he does a Jamaican accent for half the album. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm afraid to say his name again because I don't want to be in YouTube jail anymore. And by that I mean in trouble with his pal, old Mad Vlad across the way. Enough about that. I don't want to be assassinated tonight. Maybe tomorrow though. We'll see how I'm feeling. Speaking of which, I got a flu shot a few days ago. Did you guys get your flu shot yet? Your mumps, rubella, and what's the other one? The MRR, mumps, rubella, and ragu pizza sauce. You're going to want to get vaccinated so you don't get the old ragu in the blood. But sometimes those things don't really affect me at all. I got the flu shot yesterday. I was sitting around reading, and I'm just like zonked out. I've got like drool on my book. It's like a classic, like Homer Simpson. Like I was probably snoring in the corner while reading a book. I know I'm getting old, but goddamn, that's like true nasty old man type stuff. So was zonked out all day. The flu shot got me. Also, speaking of zonking out, been taking some edibles lately. Now, edibles, for those of you who are unfamiliar, are underwear that you can eat. No, that's not what it is. Well, that is what it is, but not in this case. Edibles are candies, but instead of sweet sugar that you get high on, it's actually THC, which stands for the head of cannabis. No need to Google that because that is correct. And it's funny that half a gummy will do essentially nothing to me. And I'll be like, maybe I should take double the amount. And then double the amount, I'm just the dumbest I've ever been. Absolutely just can't move from my couch, refuse. There could be like a meteor headed for my apartment. All I have to do is like move from my couch to my kitchen to survive it. I wouldn't. I'd be creamed by that thing from outer space. So yeah, edibles are fun, especially when you are addicted to video games, like some people I know. I'm looking in the mirror when I say that right now. It's just me on the pod because I've been planning the pod poorly lately, folks. It's you put out a new episode and then it's like you got to plan another one immediately after because you put it out and people listen to it, and then you got to make the reels and the edits. And by me, I mean Summer's got to make the reels and the edits, and you post those. And then it's time to record a new one and get a new one out there. So the next episode will very likely be me and my old pal Dino Archie, who I think was the very first guest ever on the pod. See what that guy's up to. Frankly, I'm tired of being the only funny one on the pod lately. Matt, Johnny, Sam, other people got to make jokes. So I'm going to sit back and have a chuckle fit while Dino tickles my ribs. Not from the inside, you perverts. What else is going on? Frankenstein's good. Oh, we're in the thick of November. Here's the thing. November's got to be the worst month, right? I mean, February, close second. It's very cold. Valentine's Day is a sham. If you're in a relationship, there's a ton of pressure and you can generally waste a lot of money. If you're not in a relationship, it just seems like everyone is supercharging their love around you and you feel icky. I don't know, there's like Galentine's and Palentine's Day, so that's not so bad, but the weather is just utter dog shit. So I don't know why I think November's the worst, but I think it's, boom, the snap to it's dark outside at like 2 p.m. and you're like, what the hell? I'm going to become a golem type creature in my cave, all pale with the milky eyes. And then, the snap of it getting cold. However, we've had some beautiful fall days here in the Pacific Northwest. And I guess since fall is my favorite season now that I'm a grows-up, then I guess November's not my least favorite month anymore. As long as it stays relatively dry, it might be relegated to second worst month, February 1st. And I'm looking at you too, March. I'm not liking you very much, March. Now, some of you may be saying, well, what about January? That's clearly the worst month. I got news for you, pal. My birthday's in January. So shove it up your ass, okay? I don't want to hear any January slander. That's right, not a single slander for Jander. Okay, but happy fall, everyone. We're in the thick of it, and I got to plan my, I do a Christmas cocktail party 3 years running, and, you have to show up. You have to have cocktails ready to make for everyone, so you bring your ingredients. It has to be holiday or winter or Christmas or whatever, just themed of sort of all the holiday vibes that go on in December. And I realized after the first year that you got to put a cap of like 6 or 7 on it because, it's not just like, try a few sips of beer here or there. Like people are getting a full cocktail made anywhere from 2 to 3 ounces that is generally getting free poured in my kitchen. And after the first few cocktails, people are like, oh shit, I got to make a batch for these like 15 to 20 people. And they're just dumping stuff in the blender. So things get a little boozy. So I had to put a cap of 6 people on it. And by the sixth one, you've had enough eggnog. That was also the problem the first year. Everyone did like a very savory type thing. So we were just so full of like hot chocolate and eggnog and whipped cream. And people just didn't want their drinks by the end of it. So that's something. Then the next year, everyone course corrected, and there was really only like one of those, and you kind of missed it by the end. But I think everyone who competes in it, generally year after year, we've got a good vibe going. And folks, I'm going to compete in my own contest this year, which I almost won the first year, and I already know what I'm doing. It's going to be delicious. And I can't tell you what it is, because some of these sons of bitches who compete in the cocktail contest, they listen to this podcast. Yeah, that's right. People actually listen to this thing. So if you have got some great ideas, I might pivot and switch it up, but I don't want something savory. That's the thing. I would like a holiday cocktail that is not necessarily like a thick old thing. All right? I want something sippable, something light and... You know what? I've said too much. The vultures who listen to this, who are going to come to the cocktail party... They're going to encroach on my beverage choice. You stick with your goddamn eggnog, Will. You stick with your eggnog. By the way, shout out to Will, who last year saw me garnish my cocktail for everyone, and I put clearly way too much nutmeg on everyone's beverage because he's like, "Is that nutmeg?" Like that, like with a panic. And I'm like, yeah. And then, everyone was basically doing the cinnamon challenge when I handed out drinks. It was too much nutmeg. Everyone had a very dry throat. So I blew it, folks. I blew it. But next year, I am not ashamed to win my own cocktail contest. Folks, I will do it. That is my solemn vow to all of you. I think this is episode 43 of Danny Mac's Awful Podcast. I started on my birthday last year, January 30th, and that will be 1 year. And then the decision whether to continue doing it or not, well, I'm going to leave it till the bitter end, folks. Spoiler alert, I'm probably going to keep doing it. But that's only because... despite how much work it takes, it is still low effort enough for me to consider still doing it just a little bit every single week. And now it's kind of like part of my week. I've got my times when I do my edits, and at first it was a real confusing, how much time and effort am I supposed to put into this thing? And, that was after learning how all the podcast nonsense uploads and getting it on Spotify and YouTube and all that stuff worked. It's actually pretty easy, but forcing yourself to figure that stuff out because there's so many options. That's the tough part. There's a million different places you can put up your podcast to put it out there. And I know most people I talk to want to do a podcast. Doing a podcast now is I don't know, getting a gym membership. If people don't already have one, they're like, man, I should really get on that. It's like the new, I wish I could be an actor. It's like the easiest, lowest barrier to entry thing. And so, yeah, everyone has an interest in doing a podcast. And let me tell you, it's extraordinarily easy, but it just takes up a little more time to do it right. And take it from me, a guy who does not do it right, but tries. Damn it, I try so hard. I try so hard, can't seem to get away from misery. Yeah, but what podcast are you going to listen to where someone just busts out an Akon song? Convict music. He's got kind of a funny, a bit of a frog voice going on. Convict music. Yeah, I got to work on that. I got to work on my Akon impression for you. I do have some questions from you guys, but a couple orders of business before we get into them. Folks, I've got some terrible, terrible news, and it's news that you may already be aware of, but I'm going to say it anyway in case this bad news lay dormant in the back of your mind because you refuse to admit that it is indeed the truth, but it is, folks, and here is the cold, hard truth. The 5-star system is broken. That's right. The 5-star rating system is broken, especially for Uber, and there's an even worse offender of it. But let me tell you about ride shares, okay? You are not going to give 5 stars as a rideshare experience to someone who necessarily deserves it for a whack of reasons, okay? The number one being, once you get out of the Uber, generally you don't do the 5-star rating right then and there. I mean, I know I don't. I don't do the rating until the next time I need an Uber or a Lyft and I open my phone and it's like, hey, how was the last drive? I'm like, oh, I don't know. And that was days ago at that point. So I just slap on the 5 stars like most people do. And just think about it. Think how many times someone picks you up and their rating is 4.98 and then you get driven home. And if you really think about it, Was that a 5-star experience for you? Like, what are we even saying a 5-star experience is anymore? Like, what if someone picks you up and the car is almost perfectly temperate and they turn back and they say, hey, I don't want to bother you. You've got your AirPods in, but I would love to know if it could be just a little warmer, a little cooler for you. And you have full control over that. You just tell me. And then they go, hey, can I play your music? Do you want to listen to the music in the thing or just do your own thing? That's fine too. And the car has this intoxicating aroma to it, a sort of vanilla and cinnamon sort of scent in the air wafting in your nostrils. And it's pleasant. It's very, very pleasant. And the car is immaculately clean to the point where you almost feel weird in it. Like, ooh, I don't want to move my feet around too much. This is the cleanest motherfucking car I've ever seen in my life. And then you get home and they get out and they open the door for you and you feel like, oh, geez, you just feel like Meryl Streep getting out of the limo going to the Oscars. Now that's a 5-star experience, not to mention sometimes there's gum. Yeah, that's right, folks. We all know that feeling when we get into the back of an Uber and there is sometimes gum. What a treat! I'm going to take gum whether I want it or not. I'm going to take gum even if I'm still chewing like a mouthful of cashews. Nuts and gum together at last. It's one of my favorite Simpsons jokes ever. Homer goes to the Quickie Mart and he asks Apu for a snack and he gets something, just a package that says nuts and gum together at last. Really a terrible combo. But anyway, back to my point. You're not really giving 5 stars to a 5-star experience. We're giving 5 stars out to passable experiences. And you know what? I don't really have a problem with that so much, especially when it comes to ride shares, because whatever, right? So what? It says 4.99 rating. It's probably just going to be a very average experience. But here's where it does suck a little bit. Sucks a little bit when you get an Airbnb. Because here is the problem. When you get an Airbnb, quite often you are meeting, at the very least, the person managing the property, if not the people who live there. And, maybe they're in a few doors down from you, or maybe they're in a few rooms down from you. Maybe they don't live there at all and they're just there to meet you. But still, like I went to Atlanta to do some stuff for my movie forever ago. And the Airbnb that I got to was not resembling the pictures whatsoever. There was just like big carpet staples sticking out of the carpet. I like cut my foot on them once or twice. The kitchen was just like crazy messy. There's just like backed up sink full of, they're like food from their pots and pans that were never cleaned. It was just not a great experience. And, it was also not near anything. And that's my bad for not like Googling nearby surroundings. But I did like notice that it said, hey, it's pretty damn close to a bunch of places to eat. And then I get there and it's like, no, you have to get Uber Eats to come bring you something. But here's the thing. I'm hanging out with the guy who owns the place, who lives there with his wife and his baby. And he's like, hey, man, you want to watch TV? And I go sit down. He's like, hey, do you want a beer? There's beer in the fridge. This guy offers me a beer. What am I going to do? Huh? What am I going to do? Give him 2.5 stars? Give him 3 stars? You know what's insane? Giving someone a 4.5-star rating, they're going to get pissed off by it because the average thing to get is 5 stars now. So you are giving them well below the average rating if you give someone like 4.5 stars. Now you're the jerk. Yeah, that's what I said. So anyway, the 5-star system is completely destroyed. 5 stars means nothing anymore, which is why I am asking all of you to give me 5 stars for this podcast, because it means nothing. You can go on Spotify and do it right now. You can go on Apple Pods and do it as well. If you do it on Apple Pods, you should write a review. It can just say, I hate Danny Mac so much. Why am I addicted to this podcast? Which you aren't, but that'll just make the others think they got to listen to it too. 5-star system, trash. It means nothing to me. I got some other gripes, something else that to be true. Everyone in Hollywood is talking about, especially comedy people in Hollywood, they constantly talk about how there isn't comedies anymore. We don't go to the theater to watch comedies together. And they're right. I mean, the kind of closest thing to a comedy that you can see now is like when a Marvel movie decides to be funny. Or when, I don't know, like Friendship with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. Like I saw that in the theater. We were laughing our butts off. Or like, family-friendly movies like Pixar, like Super Mario. It's like they're not like pure comedies. They're just sort of like comedy adjacent, or they've got like funny, delightful, like maybe you'll chuckle a few times in them. But it's true. There just isn't really comedies anymore. And I think back to some of the best movie theater experiences I ever had, and they were all comedies, man. I remember seeing Borat in the theater the week it came out. That was insane. People were like, in pain, laughing. And I'm, like you could watch it by yourself and not laugh that hard, but laughter is contagious. But there are no comedies in theaters anymore. It's true. And I think I've discovered why. So at least in kind of the 90s, what would happen is someone would have a standout appearance either on Saturday Night Live or on a sitcom, and you'd think, this person's funny, and then Hollywood would notice, and then they would start getting movie offers. But what they would do then, those funny people who made you laugh because they're comedians, what they would then do is a comedy movie. Of course, right? It makes sense. Look, Adam Sandler was on SNL, then Billy Madison, and then Happy Gilmore, and then The Wedding Singer, his third big movie. That's a romantic comedy. It's still very funny. Chris Farley and David Spade, and to some extent Bill Hader. I think he might have been like one of the last people, and even he sort of broke form with the formula of just starting to do comedy movies once you blow up a little. Andy Samberg was kind of like one of the last ones to do it right. You look at Robin Williams, he was a sitcom star, and then he was in a lot of comedies. He just kept doing funny stuff. I mean, eventually, of course, he did Dead Poets Society and Good Morning Vietnam, but there's comedy within those. But now, I think when someone gets noticed for being funny in comedy, they just sort of skip over the part where they're supposed to do comedy films, and then they go straight to the part where we're all supposed to go, hey, that funny person who we know from doing all those comedies? They're in a drama now, and they're actually very good at it. But that is ultimately way more satisfying when that actor has done a bunch of comedy films first, because we want to be surprised and delighted by their dramatic turn, but you can't do that unless they continue to establish for everyone that they are a comedic force. So I remember Pete Davidson had so much heat coming off of SNL when he decided to leave. And he's got a movie, a semi-autobiographical film about his life. And, that's going to be sort of tough to watch, you might think, because he's had some tragedy in his life. And sure enough, it's a Judd Apatow film, but it's a lot more dramedy than it is straight comedy. And, even then, that's like a fine example, but there's a lot of people who are just hilarious and we like them, and they just go straight to drama. And there's not really that opportunity for us to fall in love with them as a comedic force anymore. So that is the soapbox that I'm standing on. If you are getting noticed for your comedy chops, do some comedy movies. Just do some of those, bang some of those out, and then it'll feel all the much more better once you finally get a drama under your belt. So what I'm saying is, yes, I'm going to star in The Hangover 4, 5, and 6 before I eventually do my The Star Is Born remake. Did anyone else follow that same path? No, like even Bradley Cooper, right? Like Bradley Cooper, I was kind of just joking, but he did TV shows, a lot of TV. He was in Wet Hot American Summer, like that's pure comedy. The TV he was in that like cooking show, like that's like light sort of comedy. It's sort of like Entourage-y in the same way like Entourage is a comedy. So he was kind of just doing like funny stuff. And then The Hangover was that's just a hard R comedy, and he was in Wedding Crashers. And then he started to do the more like dramatic turn. And I'm not saying like people saw him specifically as a comedic force, even though he could definitely do comedy. But, those things are just more impactful once you have comedies under your belt, and then you can go dramatic. Then you can go dramatic and let all the silly billies of the day go to their comedies, and the circle of life continues. Anyone, and everyone. I should say anyone, because everyone is tuned out by now. People are going, so Chris Waz, not on this one? No, your agent's not on this one? No Simon Barry this episode? Don't worry, folks. I hear you loud and clear. Johnny and Matt and Samson will be back very soon for another Gooncast. All right, questions. What do we have here? Carla asks about the union versus non-union opportunities and how to decide if and when to switch. Now, Carla, I suspect you are listening to this podcast assuming that someone who is an authority on the matter could be answering that question for you. My agent, a casting director, Deb, I don't know, someone who knows more than me, which could be a hell of a lot of people. So, unfortunately, they are not there to answer your question, but I'll try as best I can, because this was a major point of debate between me and my agent. Not that we were debating each other, but just when the right time was to do it. So, for those who don't know, there are a lot of non-union commercials that shoot in Vancouver, and if you can book them, they pay really well. It's like one day of work. You can make anywhere from, with the buyout, I don't know, like $20,000, depending on if you get like a car commercial or it just blows up or it's a U.S. national. And then if they keep re-airing the commercial, that's years later, you're getting paid for something that you've already done. Plus, I got to give you 10% more, a little extra juice, just to keep you out of the running to compete for some competitors, be in some competitors' spots. It really is just a matter of like a conversation with your representative about when is the time to do it. And for me, it was when I got enough credits that the union's like, hey, you got to join the union, which a lot of people have strong feelings about. And then I was just thinking, well, what am I going to miss and what am I going to gain from this? And I was at a point where I was like, I don't really care if I just make more money doing commercials at this point. I would rather have less money, but more film and TV opportunities. And that's a scary decision to make, but it is one that I made. And I booked something that was a recurring role. And that's what me and my agent were waiting for. We were waiting for something that made enough sense to say goodbye to the non-union commercial money. And something came along that would have me on for multiple episodes. And then it just became like okay, this is a no-brainer. My agent pushed me for this. Casting was seeing me a lot. It would be insane for me to book that and be like, I'm good. So I think it's just a matter of figuring out how much are those non-union jobs getting you fiscally, financially, and keeping in mind that I think once you go union, the casting directors, I believe, have to prioritize union actors' tapes. Now, I might be wrong on that, but I will ask someone who knows better next time they're on the pod. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents right there. Make sure you got your money. In general, a non-union commercial won't advance your career. So, but I know some people who they do so well in non-union commercials that it would just be insane for them to stop. And so they never will. But they're still able to audition for other stuff as well. It's just an argument with the union, and it's a big back and forth. So yeah, also some of those people are also waiting for the big one, the big role that makes sense, where they're like, you know what, I don't care if I ever have to do any of these commercials ever again. I'm just getting a text message right now that I don't think I'm going to do my weekly bingo night tonight. Let's see what old Callum says here. Yeah, maybe I'll pass on that one and just hang out tonight. Okay, other questions. What do we got here? Hey, Danny, what is your typical Saturday like? My typical Saturday. Okay, let me think here. Let's see. I wake up, not because my alarm has gone off, but because I can feel the heat of the morning sun slipping through my blinds and penetrating my thin, veiny eyelids. And I slowly open my eyes and I realize I've slept with my contact lenses in. And that's just about the moment when I smell the gin on my breath. I've been drinking again. And I turn to my right to grab a pillow to put it over my face to see if I can get a few more winks of sleep in. And that's when I see her. Someone next to me in the bed. And I don't know who she is. I've never seen her before. I rack my brain. Who is this woman? When did we meet? Was it at the second bar that I went to last night? Maybe it was the 5th. Oh, that's Speakeasy. Perhaps that was it. I don't know who she is, but I would definitely like some alone time. So as quietly as I can, I swish the sheets over my legs and turn to get out of bed. But I accidentally knock over my nightstand. My lamp falls to the ground and the bulb shatters everywhere. It's a very loud noise. I turn to see if I've disturbed the sleep of this stranger next to me, and she's not moving. And upon further inspection, I notice her eyes aren't closed all the way. Oh my God. She's not moving. I get in close, and I don't hear any breathing. I put my fingers on her neck. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I've seen people do that on TV before, and I don't feel a pulse. Oh my God. Oh my God. My phone rings. It's my parole officer. Fuck. I have to answer. Who is this person? Is she dead? Okay, be cool. Be cool. Hello? No. I'm up. Sorry, I just saw that I missed your call. Yeah, just slept in. My bad. You're downstairs? You know what? I don't think it's a good idea for you to come up. I know we have an appointment, but I'm not feeling too well. And yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Look, I'm gonna get some rest, and as soon as I'm feeling better, we can do that follow-up interview. Great. No, I'm fine. I swear. Just a little under the weather. Okay, thanks. Talk soon. I hang up and I look to the cold body to my right. What am I going to do? What the hell am I going to do? Holy fuck, I'm freaking out. I think I've got some hefty bags in my kitchen under the sink. I go and get them. Yes, I do. I didn't want these bed sheets anyway, did I? No, it was time for new ones, right? I delicately roll up the stranger and place the feet in one hefty bag and roll another hefty bag over the top, and now I've got to get her downstairs without anybody noticing. Okay, it's a quiet Saturday in my building, rainy outside. Hopefully no one is thinking of heading to the local cafe. I press the elevator, heave her over my shoulder, and I get on. The elevator goes down from the 7th floor to the 5th to the 3rd. It seems like I'm going to make it down, and then it stops at the 1st floor. Son of a bitch. The door opens, and my nosy neighbor gets on. She's got her hockey gear. I remember now. She plays hockey at the community rink every single Saturday. Hey, Jessica, how you doing? She says hi to me and, of course, inquires about the large garbage bag flung over my shoulder. Oh, just throwing out an old air mattress. Yeah, I've had this thing far too long. Hey, you going to hockey? Great, well, score a goal for me then, Jess. All right, take care. That was close. She goes out the front door. I go out the back. That's when I remember. I don't have a car. I'm a cheap piece of shit. I'm going to have to get an Evo. I look around. Thank God there's one just around the corner. I get to it. I open up the hatch and I throw this poor soul in the back. Now, where am I going? A hiking trail. I once found one in North Vancouver that hardly anybody knows about. That's where I'll go. I make the long, scary, rainy, dark, stormy drive all the way there. And I'll spare you the details of me hiking up this rocky cliff, but I eventually make my way up there with my payload. And just as I suspected, no one is around. And of course, I forgot a shovel. Damn it, stupid son of a bitch. How could I forget a shovel? Now I've got to start digging with my hands and my feet like an animal. Thank God the soil is wet from the rain at least. After an hour, I make a pretty deep crevasse in the mud, and I think then it's time to throw her in. I check the pulse one last time just to make sure that I wasn't experiencing some sort of psychosis. She's actually in there and actually not breathing at all. I roll her in and then spend the next 10 minutes kicking dirt back onto her, covering up whatever mistake I might have made or that she made. I don't even remember. Oh God, I'm a mess. I'm an absolute mess. I head back to my Evo. I get in it. Looks like I'm going to have to say that this car was dirty when I got into it, because it's muddy as hell now. I start making my way home when the red and blue lights start flashing. A cop is pulling me over. Holy shit. All right, Danny, act cool. He taps on my window. I roll it down. What seems to be the problem, officer? Apparently, I ran a stop sign a few yards back. Oh, God, I'm such an idiot. Why am I so muddy? Oh, have you heard of Tough Mudders? It's sort of like boot camp that you do with your friends that you can post on social media. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Drinking? No, sir. I would never do that. I would never, ever drink and drive. No, though I did have a few last night. What do you mean I shouldn't have told you that? No. You don't have to breathalyze me. Like I said, it was last night. No, I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't be telling you what you do or don't have to do. Step out of the car? Sure, I can do that. Just like that, a sort of Charlie Brownish adult noise emanates from the police officer's radio. There's an emergency and he's got to leave. He tells me to watch out for those stop signs and he drives off, leaving me unquestioned and free to go. I make it home. I get into my apartment. I have the longest shower of my life. I go back into my room, onto my bed, where it's just the mattress, no sheets remain, and I cry. I weep. I weep like a son of a bitch. But ultimately, I stare up to my ceiling, and I cry a tear of joy, because whatever happened the night before, I got away with it. I got away with it. I got away with it. So yeah, that's my typical... Oh, what's that? Oh, what is your typical Sunday? Oh, sorry, I read that as Saturday. Oh my... Goofball alert. Read much, Danny? I don't know. Typical Sunday. I'm in my bathrobe. I get a matcha. Maybe I read some of my book. Yeah, that's about it. I'm kind of boring. Anyway, thanks for the questions, guys. Hopefully you've got some more for me next week. Before I leave, folks, I thought we'd play a couple games. I've got a top 5 list that I'd like to give to you folks today. And for that, I do have my drum roll, please. There we go. Here's my top 5 list this week, folks. This week it's top 5 cliche cop names in cop shows. Number 5, Murphy. Yeah, there's a cop named Murphy in there. Is that the only Irish last name on the list? I don't think so. Top 5 cliche cop names that you would hear in cop shows. Number 4, O'Malley. Yep, O'Malley. The most Irish name on this list. You know there's an O'Malley there, and O'Malley is fucking things up. He didn't bring the evidence bag. He's letting press onto the scene. O'Malley's a dumbass when it comes to the cops, okay? Top 5 cliche cop names in cop shows. Number 3. You were waiting for it, weren't you? You were screaming it out loud, weren't you? Sanchez. Hey, Sanchez! Come over here with a toe tag. We got to tag him and bag him. Doesn't that mean kill someone? I don't know. You know there's a Sanchez in the show. 2 more to go, folks. I bet you're thinking, what? He's already said the most cliche cop names. Oh, no. There's 2 remaining, and they're doozies. Top 5 cliche cop names in cop shows. Number 2, Kowalski. Yeah, you know I had to get Polish with it at least once on this list here. Kowalski is on the list, which means top 5 cliche cop names in cop shows. The number 1 most cliche cop name you're going to hear if you're watching a show with police officers is Ramirez. Oh, Ramirez. You know what? In any procedural, you're going to get a Ramirez. You're going to get a Ramirez in a firefighter show, in a cop show, in an army show. You're going to get a Ramirez in an ER show. There are Ramirez's on television like nobody's business, folks. And there you have it. Honorable mentions to Gomez, Lou, Joe, Holden, Smitty, Jones/Jonesy, or Rick. And I want to give a special shout out to my favorite 3 cop names of all time, and they all come from the same show, The Wire. I've got Dutch, Mackey, and Vandrell. Thank you very much, folks. All right, I got one more game here. I'm going to do a first to worst, folks. I'm going to list 5 things, and you are going to try to guess how I would rank these things from first to worst. I had my pal Chad whip up some classic embarrassing date moments. Classic embarrassing date moments. These are like things you would see on a hacky sitcom, right? Now, I'm going to read them to you in no particular order, and then I am going to rank them. Okay? I'm going to rank them from the least embarrassing to the most embarrassing. The one I wouldn't really think is that bad to the one where I would just fold upon myself like a star imploding and cringe myself to death. All right, I'm going to read them for you, okay? And I want you to make your list in your mind too now. All right, here we go. Classic embarrassing date moments. In no particular order, here's the 5 I'm going to rank. Spilling your drink on them within the first 5 minutes. Realizing you've been talking with food stuck in your teeth the whole time. Getting caught in an overly confident story that turns out to be completely wrong. Accidentally mentioning your ex multiple times. And going in for a goodbye kiss and bonking noses. More than once. Okay, those are the 5. Once again, spilling your drink on them within the first 5 minutes, realizing you've been talking with food in your teeth the whole time, getting caught in an overly confident story that turns out to be wrong, accidentally mentioning your ex multiple times, and going in for a goodbye kiss and bonking noses. Now, what do you think I think the least embarrassing of those is, and what do you think I think the most embarrassing of those is? I'm going to pause the pod right now and think about it, and I'm going to come right back to you momentarily with my list. Because my list is on the list.
Here I come.
I got my list. I hope you guys have your lists figured out too. All right, folks, I'm going to rank these from what I think the least embarrassing is to the most embarrassing. Let's see if we have similar lists here. Okay, so of those 5 things, what do I think is the least embarrassing? I think number 5, the least embarrassing of these date faux pas you may see on a sitcom is going in for a goodbye kiss and bonking noses. Let me explain something to you. If you're going in for a goodbye kiss and bonking noses is the worst thing that happens, here's what's going to happen. You have the you have the close chuckle near each other, and then you try again and you go for a kiss. Now, if this was going in for a kiss and they turn into the cheek, that's like, I might just walk into the ocean if that happens, right? But you go in for a goodbye kiss and you bonk noses, that's a cute memory between you two. There's nothing embarrassing about that. Plus it means, assuming that you know how to read a room, you're going to get a kiss at the very least, so you must have done something right. Plus that's also at the end of the night, so there's no opportunities to really live in that embarrassment. You don't have to have your appetizers then. Okay, so the second least embarrassing thing to me on this list is spilling your drink on them within the first 5 minutes. Now, this is actually embarrassing. I could actually be mortified too, especially if they're wearing white and it's like a red wine situation, something nasty like that. But I'm thinking, if someone did that to me on a date, they spilled their drink on me in the first few minutes, I'd be like, this is an inconvenience, but I don't dislike this person for that. It's just an honest mistake. And now you have an opportunity to, offer to pay for dry cleaning, get some soda, show that you can, you got your Tide pen on you at all times, right? It's not the end of the world, and everyone has spilled a drink on someone before. If you're absolutely dousing someone, that's a different story, but I think this is an opportunity, an insane opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless to be charming and resourceful, folks, resourceful. Okay, 3. We got 3 things left. This is the middle of the pack for me. So this is a little more embarrassing than the last one. No, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. A little more embarrassing than the last one, and it's realizing you've been talking with food stuck in your teeth the whole time. Now, I think this is more embarrassing than spilling your drink on them because selfishly, this is something where you look, I guess ugly for lack of a better term. You are looking ridiculous. When you spill drink on someone else, now they're walking around with a stain, right? But if they have to look at you with something stuck in your teeth, they're going to be thinking, I got to suck this person's face later? I don't want to do that. They don't even know how to chew and swallow properly. So it's not that bad. Everyone's had food stuck in their teeth. That's the thing. It's a little relatable. So that's why I think it's middle of the pack. I would be embarrassed to know that, especially spinach. Come on, you don't want that. All right. 2 things left, and they're both pretty embarrassing. But what's more embarrassing? Here's my runner-up of the last 2 things. It's accidentally mentioning your ex multiple times. Now, they're going to know who this is. I'm assuming that they know who the ex is, or you bring up multiple times. Is that even an accident at that point? I think you need to spend a bit more time on the therapist's couch. Maybe you're not over them. Maybe you need to get under someone to get over them. You know what I mean?
Here I come.
Oh, I didn't even play the elevator music fuck. There we go. See, I wanted to play this the whole time. I'm such a dingus. Okay, so yes, accidentally mentioning your ex multiple times, that is a serious faux pas. It means someone's probably not over their ex, or it could also mean that they really don't have a lot of date stories because they dated someone for a long time, and when they're out again and they're eating and you're having a fun bantery argument, sometimes it's fun to be like, dude, my ex actually believes that the most insane thing you've ever heard. And then, you got a common enemy that you can make fun of. But yeah, too many times, even once is don't do it. But multiple times, that's rough. Which means The most embarrassing thing on this list to me, I bet you guys wouldn't have picked the same thing. It's getting caught in an overly confident story that turns out to be completely wrong. There's no coming out of that one looking like a jackass, right? Because either you are dumb and think you're smart, or you're a liar. So you're either getting busted for being a dumbass or someone who's not very truthful because you're getting caught in a brag. I'm imagining in this scenario they are catching you in a lie. So, you say something like, hey, did you know the MRR vaccine stands for my real rump? Shit, I should have worked on that bit before I started talking. And then they go, that's actually not true, you're a stupid moron. Now that's embarrassing. That's going to hurt the old ego, even if they don't say that's embarrassing. But yeah, imagine like your waiter walking by and correcting you. It's better to not be smart on your first date. Be a listener, folks. Be a listener, not a talker. So anyway, that's my list. That is what I think the most embarrassing classic sitcom date moments are. Chad was telling me, like, I was asking Chad for things to rank, and he just started listing things that, like, Ross has done in Friends episodes, but never said that. Chad's like, try ranking these things. And it's like, trying out a new look and your friends aren't into it. And I was like, isn't that the leather pants episode? And then they're like, using a British accent as a joke, and now you have to go with it the whole time. I'm like, Chad, we can do better than just ripping off Friends reruns, pal. We can do a little bit better than that. Well, that brings us to pretty much the part of the show where I'm going to tap out, folks. It's 47 minutes in. It'll probably be less than that for you because I'm going to edit out most of the nonsense. Oh, no, I wouldn't edit out most of the nonsense. Then this would be a 20-minute episode. Things you can do if you like the pod. Here's everywhere it is. If you want to like and follow it on, TikTok and Instagram. And then there's a Patreon. Patreon is like, if you like something that an artist does, you can give them a few bucks a month and they'll give you perks. Now, I don't have perks yet, but I'm going to start them very soon. Pretty soon, most of the episodes, I'm going to upload about 85% of however long they are. And then I'm going to save that last 15%. There's some quick math there, right? Let me see if that checks out. 85 plus 15, 100. Yeah, okay. Yes, that checks out. And then if you are a Patreon subscriber, then you'll get the full entire episode. I don't know when I'm going to do this. I've been threatening lightly to do this for a while, but it's just the next thing. It's something I've been meaning to do for a long time, and I hope some of you will come along with the ride, and eventually I can use that money to get a sweet, sweet Rodecaster Pro 2. Ooh-wee! Just imagine that thing in my house. Not like this stupid Zoom PodTrack P4. I gotta tell you, it's like a running gag that I talk shit about my mixer, but I kind of love this thing. Right? Because it's got my buttons, and I know the other one has more buttons too. But anyway, thanks for listening, gang. I'll be back with a guest next week. I'm definitely not going to do another solo pod for at least a month or so. And I appreciate all your kind words. So let me know what you'd like me to talk about next time, including a typical Saturday in my life. Love you guys very much. Have a good weekend. I don't know when you're listening to this, whatever. Just have a good day. Have a good motherfucking day. And I'll take you out with a little Tim Allen. Here we go.